Thank you, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jennifer Naugler. I'm the Executive Director of the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're so pleased to be hosting this evening. So I'd like to officially welcome everyone to the Town of Bridgewater Candidates Forum. We're so glad that you could join us tonight and have a chance to hear from the candidates on important issues that impact our community. So we ask that throughout the event, you remain respectful to all the speakers and fellow attendees. Let's make this a constructive and informative evening as we work together to shape the future of Bridgewater. Thank you again for being here, and I think we're ready to get started. I'm just going to introduce our moderator, Sal Falk. Sal is a passionate resident of the South Shore who co-founded and runs the Lunenburg Barnacle, a volunteer-run media cooperative operating a monthly print newspaper. I'll just put a plug in now that the Barnacle's got some really great election coverage on their site, so if you're looking for information on candidates, it is a great place to start. They even have a countdown. It's 15 days, guys, until the election. I checked today. Sal is enthusiastic about free and independent access to news, particularly focusing to support the renaissance of print media. In her day job, she works in communications for Canada's Second World War Museum on the landing beaches of Normandy. Sal?
Good evening, everyone. Let me just open up my notes here. Thanks, Jennifer and the Chamber, for inviting me to moderate tonight. I will admit I don't live in Bridgewater, but I do feel very at home in a legion. I've worked in First and Second World War history for almost a decade, so I find myself in these spaces a lot, and I'm honored to come and help moderate tonight and hopefully have an open discussion with the 8 out of the 9 councillor candidates here in Bridgewater. It's been interesting following the coverage in the municipalities on the South Shore. Jennifer did plug, we have on our website articles. We also have a short podcast where we've interviewed most of the mayoral candidates in the local municipalities. But I think Bridgewater is in a very unique position this election. With David Mitchell being acclaimed for his 3rd term, the folks here tonight know who they'd be collaborating with on council. So they have to not only understand their own visions, but how the existing council has been guiding their decision making for the past 4 years, and how they'll work with Mayor Mitchell on the next 4. So hopefully our chat tonight will give you a better sense of their values and platforms and visions. Let's go over a little bit about that format for this evening. Some of you may have been asked at the entrance if you were interested in asking a question from the audience. We will get to those later this evening. We will first start out with introductions from each of the candidates. So they're seated in alphabetical order, and they'll each get 2 minutes to introduce themselves to you this evening. And then we'll move on to the questions that were prepared by the Chamber. There were 4 questions written by the Chamber. Each will be answered by 2 of the candidates, which I will select out of a basket of names here, which means all of the candidates will get to answer one of those prepared questions. We'll then move on to questions from the audience. We'll take as many as time permits. We're hoping to go to about 8:45, so hopefully we'll get through 3 to 5 questions. At that point, we will not have concluding statements from the candidates. We figured it would be a better use of your time to be able to mingle and have a chance to have one-on-one chats with the candidates after those questions. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to our first candidate for this evening, David Carter.
Back in the 1980s, people used to turn on their radios and they would hear, "It's 20 degrees in Bridgewater. Good morning, I'm David Collins Carter with CKBW News to 8 for Bill's Store." And you'd hear the train whistle, and then you'd hear the chorus sing, "Honest value for every dollar. Quality's high and prices are smaller. You save more at Bill's Store." Bill's Store and the Case Pharmacy, which used to be underneath the radio station where PharmaSave is now, they were our 2 biggest sponsors. But they're gone now. And I miss them. I and particularly this Bill store in Home Bay. And there have been a lot of changes here in the South Shore and in Bridgewater. And the one thing that we're going to have to accept is the only constant is change. Of course, that's a mathematical joke, because a constant is an invariable value, right? Well, there was a fellow called Charles Darwin, who back in the 1800s came up with his version of evolution, and there were pros and cons on the issue. But the people who were defending him quite often got it wrong. So eventually he had to say, wait a minute. You know, this poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson, who said, nature is red in tooth and claw. He said, that's not what it's about. He said, survival of the fittest means the fittest is the organism that is best adapted to dealing with changes in the environment. And I'm going to steal that idea and say that's going to apply to us socially. I do not believe that we need to turn our back on basic principles. If you look at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it says that Canada is based upon two principles, the rule of law and the sovereignty of God, or supremacy of God. Does that mean my time is up? Okay, so what I'm saying is that I'm willing to work with you to be adaptable and to stick to principles at the same time and work with you in facing the changes that are coming here in Bridgewater. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Legion for hosting the other candidates, putting the names forward, and all of you for coming out tonight. It's been a privilege representing town residents at the council table for the past 4 years. I'm re-offering as a way to give back to the community where I grew up, started a career, and raised my own family. I want this town to thrive, and I want to continue to help make that happen. I spent many years as a journalist at the Bridgewater Bulletin. I see my work on council as an extension of that career when I'm working on the issues that matter to our community. The training also helps me focus on asking questions, getting the facts, and seeing the whole story when making decisions. I'm committed to serving you with integrity, to listen and be responsive, to make informed and thoughtful decisions, to always put the interests of the town as my top priority, and to be responsible with taxpayer money. I've spoken to many people on the doorsteps during this campaign. One of the top issues I hear about is property taxes. As one vote at the council table, I cannot promise to decrease taxes. I will, however, promise to be a voice for fiscal responsibility. That said, during this term, council has ushered in a generational period of growth, established an environment for attainable housing, maintained its role as a municipal leader in sustainability, focused on quality of life for its residents, and become a more inclusive and diverse community. I'm proud of council's accomplishments and direction for the future, but there's still much to do. So my goal over this campaign has been to hear from you about your priorities to make Bridgewater an even better place to live, to work, and to play. And thank you for your support.
Introduce yourself from here.
And tell them.
Good evening, that was Stacy Caldwell.
David Parrott. I guess David.
Good evening. My name is Mike Conklin, and I'm running for re-election for town councilor of our wonderful town of Bridgewater. My vision for Bridgewater is a prosperous and caring community for all. Over the past few weeks, I've been able to speak with a number of residents and business owners about our wonderful town, as well as some issues that are top of mind. And not unlike 4 years ago, when I started this for the first time, campaigning, a lot of the same issues have come up again this year. Infrastructure repair and maintenance, available and affordable housing for all, providing support for new and existing businesses, and affordable tax rates for all property owners. Yes, I too only have one vote on council at the table. However, I would prefer to see our town move in the direction of trying to generate revenue in other methods other than just increasing tax rates. So that's certainly something that I would like to have a focus on going forward. I have 30 years of financial management experience. I've run my own business, and I have been a senior manager at a bank, domestic bank. This has prepared me to be a fiscally responsible counselor. My community leadership experience will enable me to continue to be a hardworking and capable counselor for our wonderful town. Thank you.
Before I start, do you prefer me to stand for those in the back? Okay. Everybody see me and hear me? The mic's on.
No, mic's not working.
No.
Testing?
Thank you very much. Everybody hear me? Okay. Good evening, residents and fellow candidates. I'm Cheryl Fougier, for those who may not know me. I'm just completing my second term on council with the last 2 years as your deputy mayor, and I'm re-offering for my third term. First of all, I'd like to thank the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce for facilitating tonight, the forum, as well as Sal, our moderator, and to the Legion for the venue. And I would like to take this time to acknowledge all the candidates are running for municipal office. I know firsthand that it's not always easy decision to put your name on the ballot, so good luck to each one of you. I'm proud to call Bridgewater my home for the past 27 years with my family. My adult children now in post-secondary. Over these years, I've been deeply involved in leading various committees and organizations. It was 8 years ago, I had the honor of beginning the journey as your representative on town council. The time has been a very rewarding experience for me. Bridgewater is flourishing, and I'm dedicated to sustaining and enhancing the positive momentum we have built together. I value open communication with you, the residents and business owners. I will ensure your ideas and concerns are confidently represented here at council. I will continue to serve with integrity, accountability, fiscal responsibility, and transparency. I know there's more work to do, and I want to continue the progress on key issues. As mentioned before me, housing on all levels, or exit 12A development, and sustainable growth, marketing events, levy, just to name a few, and as well property taxes that has already been named. I will be remiss if I didn't mention to say thank you to the residents who have taken the time for valuable conversations on the doorsteps over the last couple weeks, and on the sidewalks and public spaces. I hope to visit as many doors as possible over the next few weeks. Your voice matters. Thank you for your continued support.
I'm probably going to be very shaky. This is my first time doing this.
Go down and repeat that for us.
My name's Donna Edson. And again, this is my first time running for council. I'd like to start by saying I absolutely love Bridgewater, and anybody who knows me and has grown up with me in Bridgewater knows that I love my town. And I'd love to give back to my town. I was born and raised here, and I have a rich family history in this town. My maiden name is Hughley. I grew up as Donna Hughley, and I have 3 brothers that still live in, 2 brothers that still live in Bridgewater, and 1 that's in the municipality. My grandfather had a barbershop on King Street until the fire that burnt the barbershop down, and he brought his barbershop, I'm really shaking, I'm sorry. He brought his barbershop to Empire Street, where he continued his business there. I grew up in that home. which is directly across from the schools where I worked last year. I was fortunate enough to grow up in that family home. My dad and my brothers also worked here on the trains, which are no longer running. And they worked on those trains until they were no longer running here in Bridgewater. I got married and I absolutely insisted that my family come here and that we live here and I raise my boys here. That they went to Bridgewater schools where my family also went, my grandparents, my parents, myself, and my brothers. I worked for nonprofits here in Lunenburg County and in Queens County for many years for Better Together Family Resource Center and Freeman House. I worked to support families and children and youth in our communities with home visiting, parenting, school, mental health, addictions, employment, and housing issues. I'm currently working now in the school system in the Middle Connect Center with kids that have a lot of challenges in our school system as a youth practitioner. I've volunteered on many boards from hockey to baseball, school boards, student advisory councils, the YMCA, early intervention, youth strategies, at BHS and at BES and many fundraising committees in town. For 15 years, I ran a daycare in my home, and last year I started a business supporting kids with their social emotional skills. I have 2 boys, Travis and Keith.
But I got to mine.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer McDonald. To share a little bit about me, I raised my family in Bridgewater. I have 2 daughters who have grown up and moved on to lives of their own, and a 13-year-old who stuck with me for a little bit longer. Over the years, I've worked in finance and employment services while having the privilege of serving this community for the past 12 years. I found that what people typically want to know about me is why I'm reoffering. I spent a lot of time reflecting on that, and I went back to my first election and remember the nerves. I had just turned 30. I had 3 young children. They were, I believe, 10, 8, and 1 at the time. I had my hands full, but I thought it was really important to bring a perspective of a younger demographic to the conversations. Oops, I lost my spot. So we fast forward 12 years. I'm no longer part of the younger demographic. A lot has changed. My family has grown and changed. The town has grown and changed. One thing that has never changed is my passion and commitment to this community. That has only grown. I've had the privilege of watching your families grow along with mine. I've seen your businesses grow. I've struggled with you and celebrated with you. And I feel that my knowledge, understanding, and connection in the community has gotten stronger. I think that experience on council and in the community is really important right now. We're navigating a lot of change, some pretty major transitions. They are exciting, they're challenging, and they are changing our future. I can clearly see how the strategies and work that was done 5, 7, 10 years ago has formed what's happening now, and recognize that the decisions we're making today are changing the next decade of our community. The hot topics from even just 4 years ago have shifted. Some are no longer priorities at all, and some keep coming back year after year. I want to be part of all of that. I want to keep advocating for this community. I want to keep growing and sharing the good times and the struggles with you. I want to keep being someone you can reach out to, and I want to keep putting what I've learned from you and these past 12 years to work. I hope you'll give me the opportunity.
Hi, my name is Jane Morrell, and I'm offering for the first time to be voted onto council, if that's the town's wish. I'd like to start by saying that I recognize my responsibilities as a treaty person here in Mi'kmaq, and that I have a responsibility to the land, water, and people, and all the creatures here. And through that lens, I will definitely be, if I'm granted the privilege of a seat, I will be looking through that lens, among others, including accessibility, affordability of services and housing here. What I've been really enjoying is the knocking on doors and helping people as a citizen in the moment, sometimes solving the problem right there on the doorstep. So what I bring to the mix here of some very experienced and generous hearts on council is the community engagement angle. I love the consensus, collaboration, decision-making process. And I bring a lot of passion to that. So I think on the foundation that we have of growth and expansion here, I think we have an incredible opportunity to keep rolling and making everyone who wants to be part of the community here to be in it and belong. Anyway, that's as much as I'm going to say as an introduction. Thank you to the Legion and to the Chamber and members and guests for being here. This is very exciting to have this forum with you tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Wynott, and I'd like to start by thanking the Bridgewater Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. Sal, thank you for coming as well, and to the folks at the Legion for hosting as well. For those that don't know me, I'm a lifelong resident of the area, born at Dawson Memorial Hospital, for those that may remember that. I consider myself one of the fortunate ones. I grew up in the area, educated in the area, and then started my career in the area. I spent 10 years almost out of school, in the automotive sector before going to CKBW in 2009. From there, in 2009, I was a marketing and sales representative working with some wonderful people. And in 2015, my role expanded and I was promoted to station manager. And then in 2019, my role expanded to a regional manager overseeing our stations in Port Hawkesbury and in Yarmouth as well. One thing I love about my career is being proud to say I work for CKBW and Country 100.7 because of the roots those stations have in our community. And those are the exact reasons why municipal politics it got me excited. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. 8 years ago, I was asked to join the board of the Health Services Foundation of the South Shore. And for those that don't know, they do wonderful work in the community and raise a lot of money for healthcare. And through those 8 years, I held positions as vice chair and chair. We've gone through capital campaigns, and I see the importance of not just what we did there, but the growth in the community and how that growth in the community really is important when we look at getting, I lost my train of thought because I see I'm out of time. I'll just wrap up by saying growth is a big thing. Listening to people and their concerns in the community is something that I really want to hang my hat on here. So thank you very much. No.
I want to thank the candidates who are here tonight. There are 9 candidates running, one of whom could not be here this evening and has submitted a statement that I will read as his introduction. This is Braden Newell. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy lives to attend our town's candidate forum. I truly wish I could have been here tonight. However, when this is being read, I'll be on a plane returning from a work conference in Nashville. I firmly believe municipal politics is the most impactful form of government. After all, town services plow our streets when the snow falls, collect our garbage on trash collection day, and maintain our water and sewage systems. I'm sure we can all agree that these are critical services that we value every day. My profession is in technology education. In fact, I've made a career making technology easier to understand. I've developed a talent for taking complex technical topics and translating them into similar speak. I want to bring those same talents to public service. Outside of work, I am often engaged with the community. I serve on the board of directors of Junior Achievement of Nova Scotia and on the School Advisory Council for Parkview Education Centre. While not working or volunteering, I enjoy spending time with my dogs, Sniper, Simba, and Honey. I'm infinitely proud to say I was born at the South Shore Regional Hospital, went to school at Parkview, and worked at the Bridgewater Mall. Now, I'm a homeowner in our lovely community. I'm about as South Shore as it gets, and I'm certainly not a career politician. I'm running for council because I love this town and am incredibly passionate about community service. I believe serving on town council is the most impactful way for me to give back to our lovely community. If you're interested in electing a young, passionate, and energetic candidate dedicated to listening to you and being your advocate, then a vote for Brayton is a vote for making Bridgewater a community where everyone can thrive. With your vote, we can continue building a bigger, better Bridgewater. You can read more about my platform on my website, votenewell.ca, or email me at brayton@votenewell.ca to chat more. I wish the best of luck to my fellow candidates and hope everyone has a great evening. That concludes our introduction. Let's give a round of applause for our candidates. We're going to move on to our pre-written questions from the chamber. As I mentioned, there are 4, and there will be 2 candidates answering each of the questions. I will pick our first name for the first question. I'll read the question. Oh, I'll let Stacy know that he'll be answering this question. I'll read it out. Affordable housing is primarily the responsibility of provincial government, and municipal planners are heavily restricted by the Municipal Government Act. But still, municipalities have several tools at their disposal to improve affordability and build complete communities. Local politicians are being asked more and more what their municipal government is going to do to support housing. What do you think the town's role is when it comes to housing, and how will you carry out that responsibility? Stacey, you have 3 minutes to answer.
So last year, the town had a housing needs assessment done, and we estimated there'd be the need for 450, closer?
Yes.
Better?
Yeah.
At least I'm standing this time. This is much easier when my wife was asking me questions at home. Last year, the town had a housing needs assessment done, and which estimated we will require 450 new dwelling units by 2027, so the need is clear. As an aside, I grew up in a home that was housing insecure. We moved annually to whichever apartment was cheapest. And my kids now worry about their own housing future. So I have lived experience, and I understand how important the issue is. That said, it's important to note housing is ultimately a responsibility of the provincial and federal government. However, that's not to say there's not things that the town can do, because we can. I'll note the current council, which I'm part of, has already made the issue a strategic priority. We've made numerous related changes to land use bylaws and the municipal planning strategy, such as making it easier to accommodate accessory uses and conversions. We incentivize affordable units. We allow temporary emergency shelters and allow a wider variety of housing types. Some of the ways going forward that we can help, in addition to that, we can develop a grant program to incentivize affordable housing. We can have pre-approved and certified building plans for accessory dwelling units, increase process efficiency with e-permitting and regional inspection services. We can make municipal land available for affordable housing, and we can add exclusionary zoning to remove single unit dwelling zone. So this isn't a comprehensive list, but it is a start. Thank you.
Jennifer will be answering as well.
Thank you. So Stacey covered that extremely well. The affordable housing has obviously been at the top of our minds for quite some time now. There have been a lot of reports coming to us to provide us with the information that we need to be aware of the issue, be aware of what the potential solutions are. And they're not easy. The bottom line is that it's a very complex issue with a lot of factors involved. We would love to be able to control the rental market and the real estate market and try to keep it as affordable as possible. But it's not within our control. And it is a provincial mandate. We don't have the expertise and we don't have the finances to build community housing. So we have to look at other avenues, which is our policy, and making sure that this is an environment that is welcoming to developers, that we're cutting the red tape to make sure that they can develop affordably and quickly. We are very focused on making sure that we have a variety of housing to make sure that it meets different needs, as well as accessibility. So there are a number of ways that we're trying to tackle the housing issue. A lot of them are kind of indirect, and I'm sure from a residents' perspective, you don't see things happening quite as fast as you would like to see them. They're not happening as fast as we would like to see them. We don't want we're too great a community to let people go without homes. And it's just a basic need and one that we're striving to meet for everyone. I think that's really, Stacey talked about, changing our policies and infrastructure is another thing that we're struggling with in order to make sure that development can continue. So we're really investing a lot of time and money, and the province and federal government have come to the table to make sure that we can do that without placing additional burden on the taxpayer dollars to try to tackle some of those really huge issues. But that infrastructure, well, it's not the exciting part, and it's not a house going up that somebody's moving into in a matter of months. It is what allows us to keep developing and keep this growth going, make sure that more homes are going up as fast as possible.
Remember everyone to hold the mic as close as possible to your microphone.
Thank you, Stacey and Jennifer. Our second question segues nicely from talking about collaboration. Many of the challenges Bridgewater faces are not unique to the town. Issues like growing need for housing supports, threats from climate change, and demand for new infrastructure, they're impacting all of Lunenburg County, all of the province. So clearly collaboration with other levels of government is critical to tackling these challenges. How can we strengthen these relationships, and what does effective collaboration with those other levels of government look like? Eric.
Thank you, Sal. I think the simple answer here is to engage in conversation. I think you have to look at other models that other municipalities are using, or what resources are available to us to create those relationships to address these concerns. They're very real concerns. There's no question. I've heard about it in my campaigning. These are hot topics right now. So for me, I don't have all the answers, and I haven't sat at the at the council table for the last 4 or 8 years. But I know that there's been huge gains lately, and I want to see that continue. But to strengthen that, I think we have to look outside of our borders, I guess, so to speak, and like I said, find out what other communities are doing, the successful communities. How can we incorporate that in, be fiscally responsible, not costing the taxpayers a whole lot of money, but at the same time making sure that at the end of the day, we're getting the results that we want. So engagement and building those relationships, I believe, is critical.
Great. I'll choose a second name here. And Donette.
Again, I'll try not to shake as much this time. I think that collaboration just within our town itself, we have a lot of services here in town that do talk to each other and have hub meetings regularly, and not everyone may know that. Our community services and our police, our schools, they meet on a regular basis to help our community and the folks in our community to do a lot of things. For levels of government, I believe the MODL and Bridgewater have a great opportunity here to work together. They're going to be welcoming in some new faces, hopefully, and some old faces returning. It would be wonderful if we could sit down at the table all together. I know you do now. And to continue that work and build a stronger relationship with the MODL, so that when people come into town, they're using the services here. So is there a way to work with levels of government to help us with our roads here in Bridgewater? Is there a way to help with some of the services that the communities outside of Bridgewater are coming in and using as well? So can we work with the MODL a little bit closer and with the other levels of government to support that? Because our roads are deteriorating and our services need help. So how can we do that with our neighbors that are close, and then also support and advocate with our other levels of government to make that a strong relationship.
Thank you, Eric and Donette. Our next question. While a councillor is only one voice and one vote at the table, having a strong vision or guiding values helps set priorities and move towards those priorities over the 4 years of council. What are your top priorities and why? Jane.
Thank you. This is a great question. I think priorities are, for me, come from what is the path with heart. It's not a very political answer, I don't think, but it is the honest answer. So where do I see the most possibility to help the most people? What are my guiding values? It would be the path with heart. When I'm at the doorsteps, I'm hearing about accessibility. I want to get downtown to King Street. I want to attend a parade. I've been doing it for 60 years and now I can't any longer. So what is the path with heart there? That is the one where we talk to neighbors, we talk to stakeholders in those events, and we say, how can we make this better? We create an environment where people want to contribute, and then the creative things, creative solutions that we can build together become real. And that's a matter of will and focus, and I think we have a lot of that here. I think council has been very successful in their community engagement, and I think it's a great beginning to be even more effective. My top priorities are accessibility, support for people who are facing housing insecurity in the services that they require beyond just housing. So where are they accessing their food? Are they getting good food? Do they know that they can get bus tickets to get around town? Linking people in need with the things that they require. And I think the more healthy these sections of our populations are, the more healthy our businesses are going to be, because there will be more intersection there. I hope I'm being clear. I think I'm just going to leave that there, and I invite anyone to ask me about that more at the doorstep or after the meeting. That's good for me. Thank you.
And Cheryl.
So coming back to council is, each councillor is one voice. Collectively, together, we make a decision as council. So when somebody will say, well, what's your platform? I'll say, well, I'm here to represent your voice, so what are your concerns? I know what council has achieved as far as the last 4 years, the last 8 years, I should say. But my reason for running is to represent you and to listen on your concerns or what you vision the town. I want to carry that positive momentum that that council has already achieved. I know we've got some challenges ahead, and when I say we're looking at infrastructure, we're thankful that we got provincial and federal funding of over 40 million to help sustain growth, and how we move forward with development. That is a key factor. I hear a lot on the doorstep about property tax, seniors wanting to stay in their homes, but finding, as most of us, the rising cost of living. What are you doing about property taxes? And I'm hearing that. I know we set the tax rate, property valuation service sets their assessment. I know a lot of people have appealed the property value assessment and weren't successful. So I would like to see if council can look at other opportunities in a way that we can maybe either sustain, or we have a multi-purpose tax that's 6 cents. That's also on your tax bill. We've got another 5 to 7 years, I believe, of that. So that's in addition to the 185 per 100 that you're paying. So I would really like to see if we could do something towards the multi-purpose tax. Because I know people are finding it hard to make ends meet. So coming back to the one voice, I'm here to listen. I want to be accessible. I want to be fiscally responsibility with the taxpayers' dollars. So it's you energize me when I'm talking to you, and I want to feel that you can express your voice, whether it's indifferent, good. I want to hear it. So some of those conversations have been 30 minutes at the doorstep, but I'll make time for you. It's important to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Well, the last two know who they are, who will be answering this one, but our final question from this round is, as Bridgewater and the surrounding municipality continue to grow, it's clear that the economic success of one is tied to the other. Whether it's through shared services, joint infrastructure projects, or regional planning, there are many opportunities for collaboration that would benefit both the town and the municipality. From your perspective, what are the economic benefits of these two entities working closely together? Or better yet, how can we maximize this partnership to promote economic growth? We'll start with Mike.
Thank you. Okay, economic growth, sure. I'm a firm believer of any success that is happening in Modal does benefit the citizens in the town of Bridgewater. Whether it's a retail or commercial development or residential development, being in Bridgewater, we are the service center for about 65,000 people in surrounding communities. So we as a council, the current council, we see a huge benefit with working with Modal. We've had a couple of events with Modal just to more or less try to get on the same page and look at each other as colleagues and not competitors. I have been fortunate enough to serve on the Municipal Joint Services Board for the last 4 years, and that's a board that's comprised of councillors from Town of Mahone Bay, Modal, and Town of Bridgewater. And basically what we try to do with that, or do on that board, is shared services. And through shared services, we do have cost efficiencies, and as a result, we're able to have an HR department that is a lot more cost effective than to have one on our own, for example. Modal and Town of Mahone Bay gets to share with that. We have IT services, so we use our IT people with shared with Modal and with Town of Mahone Bay, where we're able to have top quality IT services for a fraction of the price. Going further than that, as far as procurement goes, I mean, there's the opportunities are endless. And I know from my experience on the MJSB for the past 4 years, I served with Councillor Tanner and Mayor Mitchell. We're always pushing for trying to share in procurement, whether it's road salt. I feel that 3 municipalities buying road salt will get a better deal than just one municipality. As far as other types of procurement, I mean, it could be anything from buying lights for a ball field, portable lights, or something as simple as trying to get a bulk buy on diesel fuel. It's all municipalities have to buy the same thing. If we work together and buy them together, then hopefully that would help in what type of costs we'd be paying to the good.
My mother used to say, where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that the various municipalities in Lunenburg and Queens counties are quite aware of how interdependent we are. When I started at CKVW in April of 1976 as a junior announcer, it was drilled into our heads that Bridgewater did not survive on its own. And the slogan for CKVW at that time was Town and Country Radio. And so it was understood that you had towns like Lunenburg and Bridgewater, but you also had the rural areas, and that we were all interdependent. And if anybody had any questions among the junior announcers there, all we had to do was see what happened at certain times of the month when there was, paychecks came in, for example, Michelin. You could see the increased activity, and when there were government checks that came in, pensions, etc., there were people swarming in the day of and the day after the government checks came out. So we are already cognizant of the fact that we are interdependent, and it's not just with modal. I think also Queens County and also the municipality district of Chester and the town of Lunenburg. There's a lot of social and economic activity that flows among these different units. And I think all of us want to succeed. I think we all realize that if one succeeds, we all succeed. And it's in our best interest to avoid, I'll use a fancy term here, what they call a zero-sum attitude, which means the only way that you can win is that I lose and vice versa. I think we're looking at win-win attitudes because we know it's the right thing to do morally, and also it's going to make the entire region prosper.
Wonderful. I want to thank the candidates for answering those tough questions that Jennifer came up with the chamber there. It's a good way to get started and hearing a few of your thoughts on some of them, but now we'd like to turn it over to the folks on the floor. I will start by selecting some of the names of people who expressed interest on their way in. But if you did not express interest, but now you would like to ask a question, I'll have you just raise your hand. I'll see if there's a few. Did anyone else? There's a couple people. Oh, I got your name, I believe you, who did not put their name down yet. Great. Is there paper at the back, Jennifer? I'll have you just put your names down and you can enter into the mix. We'll start drawing names and we'll see how many questions we can get to. We'll come to you with the microphone. So if I say your name, just raise your hand. We'll bring the microphone to you. Please keep your comments brief. I ask you to pose a question to the candidates. This is not a forum for folks to express their grievances, but hopefully ask a direct question towards the candidates here. I also suggest you're welcome to direct your comments, your questions to up to 3 candidates. If you are indifferent to who will answer, we will draw randomly 3 names of candidates. That will just help us get through more questions here this evening. Great, okay. We will start with Margaret Jones.
I'll pass right now.
Adam Barkhouse.
My question's going to be for Eric, Donette, and Jane. What is your vision for our municipality over the next 4 years?
Thanks for your question. I think that's very important, and I'm guessing you probably asked us because we're the new ones on the ballot. So my vision, honestly, what gets me excited is growth, and I want to continue on the path that current council has has led us on. Growth comes with a lot of spin-off, and I'll just rewind back to my introduction. When I was with the Health Services Foundation, when we looked at growth and attracting physicians to the area, it wasn't just the physician that we were trying to get to the area, it was their families. So what do we need to have in our community for families to want to come here, not just to come here for a job, but to want to live here long-term, have their kids grow up, and have their kids go off to school and come back to this community and give back. And those are the, those are the people that are going to be volunteering in our community, working in our community, and driving our community, and someday maybe even sitting at this table as well. So my short answer is growth. There's a lot of work to be done, and again, I respect what current council has done. That's what really motivates me right now, is that.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Sal. Thanks for your question. I'm going to refer to my pamphlet, which I'm happy to give out to everybody. My vision is twofold. The first is how can we build on what is already here. For example, I want to strengthen our partnerships with Moto, specifically to finally get a bus service between Bridgewater and the Osprey Village, big park of Walmart, Canadian Tire, etc. I think we really need that. There are all kinds of people moving to town who are walking up that Lahave Hill in the dark and across that 103 bridge, and that to me is terrifying. I wouldn't want any of my family doing that. I think it's possible. I know that this council has tried to do that over and over. I think that with the new leadership possibly coming into Modal, that we will have an opportunity to finally get that done. I don't want to take away from the incredible effort from the town and always try to do that over and over. I also am a very big fan of the Energized Bridgewater program, which is helping us reduce energy poverty, and I think that community engagement is a great key to helping more people get into that program so that we lessen our power bills and we can use our money in other ways and hopefully keep it in the community. I think that when people are grateful to the town for providing that kind of relief, they will then spend their money in town as well. As far as fiscal responsibility goes, we've heard it said already, I'm also very dedicated. I'm also a taxpayer as well, and I'm very dedicated to honoring our taxpayer contributions and for our collective well-being. And I will vote to support anything that's fiscally responsible for projects and services, debt reduction, and reserve funds. There's something I would really like to see an expansion of, and that is some specialized services with the Town of Bridgewater Police Enforcement. And that's in the area of serving people who are in a mental health or a memory loss crisis. Sometimes you don't really want someone in a uniform coming to your door. I'm not sure if anybody else has that experience, but I do know that addictions and mental health are touching every family. And I think that there can be expansion there on a service that is already doing a good job. I'll just say it that way. And my last point would be, I pledge to expand and the effectiveness of partnerships between the Town of Bridgewater and the housing services that we've already heard about. That's going to take a lot of will and focus. There's lots of players in play, and they are working behind the scenes, and that really interests me to be one of those silent contributors behind the scenes to make things work. So I hope I've answered your questions. Thank you very much.
They both have mentioned several things that I would also be interested in working on with council. Jane mentioned something like a mobile crisis team. I've also talked about that with several people for mental health and addiction in our town. That's a big topic right now. With John Howard Society being on King Street, I'm just going to bring that up now because no one's mentioned it yet. We've had these challenges in our community for years. They've often been hidden. I've worked in housing for several years. It was often people coach surfing and having a lot of challenges, but community wrapped around them. We live in a different world now where we often live in our own little home and we're not touching everyone in our community. Like we used to say, it took a community to raise a child. We don't have that as much anymore. What I'd like to see is more community engagement. There's been some great work by the town to get out and be at the mall and have walks and talks so that people can come out and ask questions. So there's been more engagement, but I'd like to see more of that. I was at the farm market with some wonderful folks last weekend, and we'll be at the museum again this weekend, and I really enjoyed that. It was great to have people come out and just chat. Community engagement doesn't have to be complicated, just showing up and listening. So that's something I really would like to focus on if I'm able to be in council, is community engagement and youth engagement. We have, like Eric mentioned, there's a lot of people leaving Bridgewater because we don't have doctors. Although that's a provincial issue and a Canadian issue, our kids are leaving our community. Some want to come back, but the jobs aren't here or the housing's not here. So community engagement and youth engagement are two big things for me. I'd also like to do some work with and support John Howard Society and how we can create an environment where people who are on King Street feel safe, but also the people that need John Howard are safe as well.
Thank you. Our next question from the audience will come from Reginald.
Yes, my question is basically, you look at Bridgewater right now, it's almost like every single highway empties right into the center of Bridgewater. My question would be, what is the council going to do in regards to offsetting lights or expansion of more lanes to drive in and stuff like that?
That's okay to be directed at anyone?
Yeah.
Great, we'll start with David.
Thank you very much. I like this question because it's something I've been thinking about for years. I don't own a vehicle myself, and that's deliberate. I don't need it at this time. I might buy a vehicle next year, but I take a lot of taxi rides around town because I'm a substitute teacher, and if I go to Parkview, I'm not going to walk over there. I take a cab. There's a lot of work being done in Bridgewater, and I have to say that I'm scratching my head because I know something has to be done. If you study economics, and I've been doing that as a hobby for the last 25 years, that doesn't make me an economist, but I've learned one thing. The great African-American economist Thomas Sowell says, it's about trade-offs. You can't always have everything, and I'm looking at King Street, and I'm thinking, okay, that needs to be widened because that was created back in the day when you had, horse-drawn carts going along there. And how you're going to deal with that, I don't know. But I think it has to be addressed. Also, Hay Street. And we do have to, I think, rethink the whole area because I don't think you can just, stick in a little lane here or, maybe paint or add a sidewalk or take away a sidewalk there. It's going to have to be a rethinking of what we have because the traffic is increasing and the lineups are increasing. I know because I've been sitting in them. And I'm not angry about it, I just recognize that it is something that needs to be addressed, and all I can say is that I would make it a priority, but I don't have an answer to the problem at this moment.
Very good question. Certainly, growth comes with some growing pains, and traffic is one of them. We've definitely all seen a real increase in the number of cars coming through town. We're all thinking about the wear and tear that that's having on the roads, the amount of time we're sitting in traffic, how long we sat at this light. I have to admit, up front, traffic excites me because it means we're doing something good in town. There's excitement, there's energy. At the same time, it's frustrating too. And we're all used to getting across town in 5 minutes, and now it's taking 15, 20, 30 minutes to get across town. So we are looking at doing some work to work on the right turn lanes and working on some of our major intersections. We've got that in the budget. It depends on council's wishes. But we're definitely looking at the fact that there needs to be some work done to our road infrastructure to handle the growth that we're seeing and the increased traffic. And we can't forget the fact that the pedestrians are still on those roads as well. So the more traffic on the road, the more hectic it is for pedestrians as well. We've heard a lot about crosswalks and some of the parking that's available and whether it's easy to get into and not. So we do have to also consider the sidewalks, the pedestrian ways, passing through for trails to make sure that the pedestrians are as well served as traffic increases as well. So that it's a big task. We've got a lot on our plates. Roads are expensive. They're really, really expensive. So I'm not going to say it's going to, that we can just pour money into it. Just regular road maintenance is costing tens of thousands every year, and sidewalk maintenance. So, and we have limited capacity in our staff as well. There's only so much they can accomplish in a year. So we're trying to find some of those real priority areas and make sure that we're addressing them to keep traffic moving, make sure people are getting to the businesses, they can shop, they can support the businesses, they're getting around safely and securely.
So, thank you, Jennifer. I think you actually enlightened me on a lot of what the town's been doing, and I can't help but to mention or think about the exit that's going in. That'll help with some of the Michelin traffic too. I don't think there's an easy fix. I think it's going to take a lot of work. It's a good problem to have, I guess, because it shows our town is growing. But that is certainly an area that we do need to address. And I say we, hopefully me. But the council's been doing a good job addressing that right now. And I drive across town, I live over on Acadia Street, and I drive to CKW every day. Some days it can be 5 minutes, some days it could take me 15 to 20 minutes. So I know what that can be like. I don't have the perfect answer for you. I'd just be talking out of my ears here, but that is something I would want to look in. I talked about my vision earlier about growth in the town. And with growth, this is something that does need to be addressed. So that would be firmly on my sights to investigate.
Thank you. We'll turn to another question from the floor here. From Bill.
Thank you. Full disclosure, I was on town council for 20 years, and I admire anyone who puts their name on the ballot to run for council or any political position these days. It's a tough economy and it's a tough world. During my 20 years on council, I've tried I forget the number of occasions to look at amalgamation. I know that's not a popular word, but it is. We are totally overgoverned. And in Lunenburg County, we have no less than 36 municipal politicians. We have 40,000 people. That is overgoverned by any measure. We could become much more efficient, and I would encourage each and every one of you to Google the County of Queens and look at their balance sheet. And you'll see that amalgamation pays off in a big way. You can do more things with fewer people and for less cost. How, of all you people that are running here, have you considered or looked at amalgamation? And if you, and is something you consider pushing and putting on the table over the next 4 years. Anyone?
So, yes, I would consider, because as we have to be fiscally responsible, and I think it's council, when we're dealing with taxpayer dollars, we have to look at, okay, we've got rising costs, and in order to be sustainable, we have to be ensuring, I know we had counselor review of the number of counselors for our area, and that's a requirement every so many years to make sure that we have the right number at the table. And I would be more than willing to explore amalgamation. I know it's, as Bill mentioned, it's kind of a taboo word and nobody wants to talk about it, but I think it's worth exploring, and I'm willing to have those discussions. Because I think, at the end of the day, if we can save money and be more effective, I'm happy to look at that as well. Thank you.
Amalgamation. Okay, I guess for starters, you need two to tango. If it was just us and we're approaching other municipalities, I'm not so sure that would be such an easy sell. And quite honestly, Bill, the first 2 years of my term, I spent just learning all about municipal politics. And the last 2 years, I've felt fairly comfortable and got more engaged in the day-to-day workings of municipal politics or municipal government. Before I ran, so in my previous life as a non-councillor, I did think about amalgamation quite often. And yeah, sure, Region of Queens does have a fairly strong balance sheet, especially compared to pre-amalgamation. But it's certainly something that I would consider, because I can appreciate that, there would be huge cost savings. But quite honestly, I really don't know how we could fit that into any type of strategic priority over the next few years while we battle this wastewater problem that we have. But amalgamation, whether we look at expanding the Municipal Joint Services Board just to give our partners a better taste of how you can benefit financially by doing things together, I think that would be a nice first step. But as I mentioned before, yeah, two to tango. I mean, if our whole council was pro amalgamation, we can't just amalgamate with ourselves. So we would need some partners out there. But thanks.
I have mixed feelings about amalgamation. Mike mentioned a few things. I would definitely consider it with more information. I don't have a lot of information about some of the ways that council works currently, other than what I'm able to watch for town council. I struggle with it because of some of the big amalgamations that have happened with healthcare and with our school systems. It's not always the answer. Yes, it does save us money, but it doesn't always give our communities the needs that each community deserves. We have different cultures within our own communities. Bridgewater's needs are very different than New Germany's needs, are very different than Liverpool's needs, are very different than Mahone Bay's needs, are very different than LaHave's needs. So how do you manage that? I think it would take a lot of conversation. Financially, it makes sense. But do you meet the needs of the community? When we moved, Bridgewater High School closed, and we moved to Parkview, financially that made sense. But it didn't always make sense for the people that went to the school, and it still doesn't make sense for that. There's people in our community, in our hospitals, that if we still had a lot of the smaller hospitals, we may have more doctors here, we may not. That's, an assumption. But I think always combining and making something bigger isn't always the better thing. But I would definitely be willing to explore the options.
Great, we'll turn to another question from the floor then. From Aaron Hurdle.
We've heard a lot of you tonight talk about taxes and fiscal responsibility. However, our taxes pay for the services we all enjoy, essential and otherwise. How do you plan to balance fiscal responsibility and maintaining or expanding service levels that will allow our town to grow, especially considering the cost of everything increasing? That can be directed to you. Stacy?
Well, not easily. We work within a budget, and we work within we have a 10-year plan, so there is a plan laid out to do that. Anybody can go on and look on the website, we have it all laid out. So there is a plan in place. There are challenges to getting there, but I think there's a plan in place. When it comes to taxes, I want to keep them as low as I can, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a challenge. I want to take since I have 3 minutes, right? 2 minutes. I'm going to quickly answer a couple of the questions. Amalgamation, leave it up to Bill to put us on the hot seat. So in principle, I am a proponent of amalgamation, but there's a lot of balls in the air with amalgamation. The Joint Services Board long ago was supposed to be a stepping stone towards amalgamation. That ultimately didn't happen. If we were to, I'd ultimately have to see a report in front of me, and I'd have to hear from residents, but in principle, I could support that. Another question was about the traffic downtown. So a few solutions. Public transit is one of the solutions. We need to improve our public transit. We have an intersection study that's been done on all of our major intersections. There's work being planned each year for that, beginning with Newbridge and Lahey Street. We're going to have a new right turn lane in there. The whole intersection is going to be improved. We need to improve our density downtown. There'll be more people living downtown, more people walking, and fewer cars. The new exit adds another layer of complexity, but we also need to consider that. And all of this is going to take money, so it's going to take time, but it'll be done over the next 10 years or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you you upped for last year, 2020. So I thank you for your candidacy. I think being in public service is a sacred calling, honestly. And I learned that from my grandfather, who was a warden for 20 years. So I'll say to Bill, thank you for your service. And thank you for helping. So how do we be fiscally responsible and still expand services? I think part of the formula is that people are moving to Bridgewater, buying homes, and they are from away, or they're coming from other parts of the province. And yes, we do enjoy more taxes because of that. And yes, the taxes are sometimes an excruciating blow to people who come. But that money does come to the town for services. I wish I had a solution for lowering taxes. I do not. Perhaps Bill's right that amalgamation is the pathway to that. However, I believe that municipal government is really benefits from being the most flexible form of government, and that the people have the most representation at this level of government. So if we were to reduce the number of representatives, then our ability to be the most flexible, I think, is decreased. So yes, amalgamation, as long as the people are still being served in the same way, and that this democratic form is protected, if that makes sense. As far as I'm using, I'm going to follow the same format as Stacy. And for the highways and for the roads, some people can't get out of their driveways during rush hour because they're on Victoria Street and they're being entrapped, or they can't get into their driveways, and that's something I've been hearing residents say. And so I think, we need some basic getting along to get around, and I think just talking about that, having that being just a concept that is repeated over and over again, whatever means we have necessary. This is like the simplicity of a solution.
Is that the time? Oh,
I apologize. It was not.
Thanks for your question, Erin. So, maintaining, expand taxes and fiscal responsibility. We can't have more and spend less. It's not going to happen. Expanding services will cost money. Maintaining will cost money, as you said. The cost of everything is increasing, just like all of you are experiencing increase in your daily cost of living or your cost to do business. We're seeing increases in the cost of gas, insurance, wages, and so on. So even maintaining is going to cost us money. So the tax rate stayed the same. Assessments went up, as we've already mentioned. I believe, I don't quote me on this, but I believe that there was $2 million in additional revenue over the previous year due to that change in assessment. And that was pretty quickly eaten up by increased costs from year over year. So it's, even though you're seeing an increase on your tax bill, it doesn't mean that there's just more money available to be spent on new services or enhancing the existing services or expanding them. I think one way that we can work towards that is by working with other levels of government. So bringing federal and provincial dollars into our community. So we need to advocate for that. Council is a strong advocate for this community. We are heard by provincial and federal government because we have proven that we are a sound investment. We have shown them that when they jump on board with us, we make things happen. So that's one way that we can try to address that. And prioritizing. We need to know what's important to all of you. That's where your voice is really important. We need to prioritize what is going to give us the biggest bang for our dollar. We need to understand the issues. We spend a lot of time, the new lands opening up at 12A, understanding our community, the movement of people through our community, where our business nodes are, how that movement affects them, and how we get the biggest bang for our buck up there, to make sure that we're being really strategic with those dollars and prioritizing them to meet your needs.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question from Jerry.
Jerry Jodry? Oh, he's not.
Amber Falconer?
So I'll give the candidates a heads up. So it's going to go to Danette, Eric, and Jennifer. How are you going to help the youth of the community by working together with our local leagues, specifically football, who have been trying for over a decade to receive lights for fall practices when the dates get shorter?
That's a very good question. Youth engagement is something that I'm very passionate about. I was a youth outreach worker for many years here in town. Been involved with baseball and hockey. It's very challenging because there's a lot of complications with the field when it comes to drainage and usage. I would be definitely willing to sit down and chat with people that are part of the football association and soccer, and I realize baseball already has lights, and that's probably very frustrating when you're down there playing and you realize there's lights on one part of the field and not on the other. I do need a lot more information about why there's not lights there now. I have some. I don't have enough to give you a real concrete answer, but I would definitely be willing to sit down with a group of people and try to figure out if there's some options, whether someone mentioned portable here a little while ago, whether that's an option to have portable lights out there just for the season when you need it, and then maybe have them in stores somewhere. But I'm sure there are some options or ways to talk about that and figure out if there are reasonable options without having something permanent there, because I do believe there were some issues with drainage on the field and usage because it's a multi-use field, whether that lights would cause an issue for other activities that are there, not just football. So I really have to look into that a little bit more. Thank you.
So I'll start out with kind of addressing your question about youth in general. I'm the chair of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Advisory, and so we spend a lot of time talking about the fields and facilities that we have available in the community, how important they are to people, the green spaces and open spaces where they're lacking, and who's well served in the community. So there's a lot of conversation, a lot of work being done in that area to make sure that our facilities are up to par and providing what the users are looking for, and a variety of uses. It's great when we can have a facility that has multiple uses and not just one specific. We're able to invest a little more into a facility that can provide multiple uses, as well as programming. We're trying to make sure that we program the spaces as well as possible, make sure we're maximizing the use, helping people figure out how to use the spaces and how to enjoy them. I think over the summer we've seen great usage of our town facilities and parks, a lot of events, a lot of great things happening. There's been a ton of energy and excitement. As well, and something that I've been trying to bring to the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Advisory is our Pro Kids Fund. It's a fund that helps to ensure that everyone can participate in sports, music, and cultural activities. And it's something that we haven't had a lot of manpower to kind of invest in and kind of build that fund. And I think the advisory, we've got a really great group of people who I think will really put some time into building that fund to make sure that everyone can participate. I also sit on the SACs for the community, for the elementary school and the junior high. It's been a really great connection between council and youth. That is where they live, that's where they learn, where they play, they socialize. That's where the clubs they're interested in are. And it's where I'm learning, where we're helping each other, where we're getting one another's way, how we can make connections and kind of bridge some gaps. On the fields, I understand that there's a meeting coming up to discuss the lights that you're referring to. We've spent a lot of time looking at options and the cost involved in putting lights on the field, safety. We're talking about it.
So this is a great topic for me. I grew up playing sports in the area my whole life. I know the importance of getting involved in sports, being involved with a team, and what that does, and the life lessons you learn going up through. So I'm a huge component of this. I believe we had a chat this morning on Facebook about the lights specifically. I don't have all the information about what has been done to this point to be able to say I have an answer here today. I will say, going back to one of my visions for the town and growth, these types of things need to be looked at and addressed. We're talking about a minor football, in this example, a minor football team that has grown immensely over the past several years. Football was not a thing when I grew up, not even in school. It's now a huge team sport in this town, and I think it's very important. We have some high caliber athletes going off to play university and beyond, some semi-pro, hockey and so on. The facilities we have right now are being taxed. I know that. My wife is the vice principal at Bridgewater Junior High. She is all night booking gyms for other organizations, or booking her gym time for other organizations to come in and use it. It's extremely important to me that these kids have a place to play that's safe, but it's also, it's part of our responsibility here as council to be responsible for those dollars. So I'll sum things up by saying, these are things I want to dig into. I don't have the answers, but these are very important topics and huge components that I want to get behind, and I really want to dig into these issues. So I'm always willing and able to sit around the table. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Looks like we have time for just about one more question, which is great because I have one last name on a slip here, and that's a question from Clara.
Thank you. Actually, this will be quite short. I wanted to ask about community engagement with homelessness and more vulnerable population we have here in Bridgewater, and folks have already addressed that. So I appreciate that, particularly what I was hearing from Donette and Jane. So thank you. As long as I'm not repeating. Okay, well, my question is, what do you see as a strategy for homelessness here in Bridgewater, and particularly for this winter? We're looking at well over 100 people without homes. They're on the edge of homelessness. Well, Mike.
Thank you. Okay, so for homelessness, we, as a town council, we were very supportive in getting the South Shore Open Doors Association launched. And we also have, through our grants to organizations committee, there is funding available for community groups that wants to look at constructing tiny homes, whether it's for just seasonal or for year-round as well. We were big supporters of the new shelter that was put in town, and also as Danette mentioned earlier, certainly the issues on King Street, is a very hot topic with all sorts of residents and a lot of the businesses that I've spoken with. With homelessness, another thing that I've learned with our numbers in town is that because we're like a service area, we are getting homeless families or just men or women, kids coming from outside the province to come to Bridgewater because of the facilities that are in place now. So because of the great job that some of our community groups are doing about homelessness, that is in effect, I believe, exacerbating the problem with bringing more homeless to the area. So if we have to look at getting another shelter built with or installed with the help of the provincial government, that's certainly something that we want to have completed before the nights get too cold.
I believe, Clara, you don't only directed it to Mike. Is there any other candidate who would like to address this question?
I'll be as brief as I can. Housing insecurity is, I think even a bigger problem than we all know. The numbers are on the town website, 73 children insecurely housed. And I think a community that has the wealth that we do can become more hospitable and expand our ability to help these people. And what happens when you help people in need is they become capable of then directing their own lives. And then they stay here because they're grateful and they become contributing members of society in a way that they are unable to be because they are spending so much time just trying to find a place to sleep for the night. I don't think I'm saying anything that people don't understand. My idea is not new, and it's about leveraging all the surplus spaces that we have in town. There are generous people who have empty rooms, and how do we help people feel comfortable with offering those surplus spaces for people who need them? That is a massive leap of faith, and I think that we can bridge the gap between the need and the supply by just getting together, talking about it, figuring out how to do it. And I think as a community, we have the heart to do that. That's what I'd say about that. Thank you.
I'll just ask once again, does any other candidate want to address that question? Stacey.
I'll say that we support tiny shelters, the overnight shelter, Souls Harbor, which I've volunteered with in the past, John Howard Society. Some of the other ways we can help is to keep more people in the homes they're in. So we have low-income tax breaks, we have free bus passes, we encourage affordable housing through various methods that I've talked about in the past. We support kids and recreation through Pro Kids. There's Energized Bridgewater, which helps support people to have more energy efficient housing at low cost. And we give property tax breaks to nonprofits who serve vulnerable communities. This is some of the ways that we can help.
Wonderful. Well, that concludes our formal part of this evening. Shall we give a round of applause to our candidates today? I want to thank all of them. As it's been expressed tonight, it is truly honorable to put your name forward in municipal politics. I think it's not a very glamorous or exciting part of politics. It's not what you hear about the most on the news, but it's certainly what affects your day-to-day most when you live in a small municipality. So also give yourselves a round of applause for coming out and engaging in municipal politics. I'll take a chance just to plug further the Lunenburg Barnacle. We are a small, volunteer-run, nonprofit cooperative. Our monthly print paper comes out on the second Thursday. So next Thursday you can find us in Bridgewater. We have a newspaper box on King Street outside of Rascal Run with windows for Good Dog Books in that little corner. So you can also find us at Fancy Pants and at Fancy Pants Express at the LCLC or around the other municipalities on the South Shore. If you have a story that you think should be told, or if you yourself are a writer or an illustrator, our editions are entirely hand illustrated. We'd love to have you come join us on our team. I'm happy to chat afterwards further about the project, but check out our website, thebarnacle.ca. We have election coverage and stories from both sides of the lane. Once again, thanks to the Bridgewater and Area Chamber of Commerce for organizing this evening so that we can all have a candidates forum and hear from everyone.
Thank you, and can we all give a hand to Sal for moderating? Sal actually reached out to us and offered her services as a moderator, and I had a chance to meet her previously, and I knew she'd do an incredible job, so we were so pleased to have her here. And everything's already been said. I'll just share, yes, it takes a lot of courage to put your name forward, but just yesterday, someone said to me that the town of Bridgewater has a really strong slate of candidates. And I have to say, after tonight, I think we all agree. I mean, you guys did an amazing job, and the town is fortunate to have such such great people here, willing to stand up, shake a little bit, and get through it. You did great tonight. And I know it's all to serve our community and help shape the future of Bridgewater and the surrounding area. So hats off to all of you. And I just want to put another plug in as well. We mentioned the Barnacle, but for all our local media sources, you know, it's finding out news about municipal elections or what's happening here in this area. I sometimes feel like it's getting harder, especially with the limits that social media has put on news organizations. And we do have CKBW and Country 100.7. We have now South Shore Bulletin, which is locally owned, and the Barnacle, which is a volunteer-led group doing some incredible work. So I would really urge all of you to try to support these as much as you can so that you are aware of what's happening in our areas and give us the ability to still read local news when we want to hear what's going on. So please consider that as you move forward. And an election's always a great time to really, that point gets really driven home. Because sometimes I've heard a lot of people have said to me through the chamber, where can I find the information, where do I find out who my candidate is or who's running? So this is really important, and I just put a plug in for all of our local media sources. So now we do have some time. We're going to be wrapped up and kick you all out by 9, but we've got about 20 minutes. I'd encourage you all just to come and chat with some of the candidates, and if you want to have a little conversation